Hey everybody, it's Dr. Will Cole. We're live here in our Functional Medicine Health Center, where we see patients around the world via our virtual functional medicine practice via webcam consultations, and locally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And we've been having my friends in the wellness world on Facebook Live, where we can talk about different health trends and information to really give you guys some practical tools to improve your life. And today I have my friend, Dr. Taz. I'm so excited to talk about her new book today. Dr. Taz, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Will?
I'm doing awesome. And for anybody that doesn't know, I don't know how that's possible, who Dr. Taz is, but fill everybody in. Who is Dr. Taz? What do you do?
Oh my gosh, you're too kind. I don't think everybody knows who Dr. Taz is, but I'm an integrative physician, much like yourself. I have a practice here in Atlanta. We have a couple of locations, and I spend a lot of time trying to educate and teach on different aspects of health. I'm pretty passionate about women's health and the connection between women and children, and how that very core Chinese medicine concept really drives, or should drive actually, healthcare. So just have had an exciting journey over the last decade, and have spoken and have taught and have done some media and written a few books. And now I'm talking to you. So I feel completely honored. Yes, that's one of them.
So,
Superwoman RX.
I love this book, Superwoman RX. Can you kind of fill everybody in on the magic behind this book and what was the inspiration behind this book?
I would love to. This book, you write different books for different reasons. This is the one that's been in my head for a long time, and it was actually really painful to write. But the inspiration were my patients, quite honestly, and kind of their stories, and working with them over roughly 10 years almost, and seeing women kind of day in and day out, and seeing sort of what they want, what they already had on their plate, and what they were up against, and understanding how chemistry was tied to that. But then taking that even deeper, it's not just chemistry, it was how like their emotional makeup, their personality types tied into their chemistry, and how, again, when we look back at older systems of medicine like Ayurvedic or Chinese medicine, they were pretty predictive and pretty accurate, quite honestly, on pegging people and then giving them a formula for health, for prevention, not for disease. And so as I do this and do my intake, I'm sure just like you do, over and over and over again, I started seeing patterns, and I started to put it up on a wall. Like if I took all the Ayurvedic diagnoses and all the Chinese medicine diagnoses and all my lab values and all my hormone patterns and all my nutritional ideas, and I lined them all up, they were starting to fall into distinct patterns. And it sort of shifted out into 5 really key women that I meet at different phases of their lives or at different points in my journey. And I'm like, how amazing would it be? I wish I had had this in my 20s. How amazing would it have been for someone to hand this to me before I went off in my world and did the 50,000 things I want to do, and said, hey, go do everything. But here's your plan, and watch this, eat this way, take these supplements, do this type of exercise so you don't get in trouble while you go out and you conquer the world. So, the more I thought about it, this was in my head, and I have a daughter who's now 10. At the time, I think she was 8, and she's a little pistol herself, but she was like, Mom, you need to write a book for women. You need to write a book about superwomen. I'm sick of being with you, and every woman I see in the grocery store, wherever you go, says you're some kind of superwoman. So you need to help other women figure this out. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. Because at the end of the day, I have more energy today than I did, 20 years ago. And I think my intention of the book was, I wanted to give this gift to other women, that I want you too to go find your superpowers and be you, so that you can do whatever you're supposed to do in the world, whatever that means. So that was the intention behind the book.
I love it. So you're really bringing sort of this awesome ancient wisdom of Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, and marrying that with really modern medicine. That's so cool. So as a clinician, what are some of the top reasons why you find this really ubiquitous issue, mainly with women, dealing with fatigue and brain fog and weight loss resistance? What are some of the top reasons that you're seeing for this clinically?
And it's something I've thought about a lot too. And when you dig in and you do the research and you look at statistics, we are the most stressed generation of women in history. We've never had a generation of women that has had quite this much on our plates. On one hand, with women's rights and everything else, we truly can do anything that we want to do. It's no longer that you can't or you're not able to. I think most women, at least here in the United States, we have the wherewithal to do whatever we want. The problem is that our biology, our chemistry hasn't adapted to that level of performance where we are supposed to man the home, man work, man our finances, man our parents, man our friends, man all this other stuff. And, the stress of that, and then not having the support systems in place, both on a political level, on a community level, in a family structure, even not having that makes women highly stressed. I mean, I know women who are literally doing it all. And so you can only do that for a short period of time before you start to crash and burn. And so we're seeing that crash and burn, and in every woman, it presents differently. For some women, it's mental health. For some women, it's hormone health. For some women, it's weight. So that's one part of it, just our lifestyle and what we have evolved into as women. I think the second part of it is our environment and the food we're eating and some of those pieces of the puzzle, because again, we are overloaded with a toxic load that we didn't have before. That's going to sit in our liver. That's going to affect the hormone system, which is where all things hormonal are metabolized and determined. So we have this toxic load piece. We have the stress, which we've also already talked about. We have food, which is different. Food doesn't look the same. And not only does it not look the same, we're not in the kitchen anymore. And it's funny, like, to talk to women, like, the idea of going back into the kitchen is like this big nebulous space. Like, it's this big vortex where, like, there's almost fear in their eyes, which is different. Like, we were the people that cooked and did that stuff in the past. So we have this disconnect from our food. We have a disconnect from the quality of our food. We have this environment that is very different. We have stress levels that we never had before. You put them all together and you mix them up, you have a recipe for complete breakdown. And that's what we're seeing in women today. So we do well for a little bit, but then we break. And when we break, everything around us breaks. Our families break, our communities break, our children break. And going back to what we just started talking about, when you combine the concept that a woman is only as healthy as her child and a child is only as healthy as its mother, then you're talking about a social structure, a unit that starts to fall apart and starts to fray. So it spills into other areas of our life. And I feel strongly that it's going to fragment society. And I think we're already seeing that happen.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you've connected something so powerful. I mean, we see the decline of people's health, but you're really looking at the heart of this, and it really starts with women and their health declining in the state that we're in, and this disconnect between the amazing advancements we've seen in our society, but our biochemistry is paying a toll, really, on all of this. So now someone's going through these health issues we're talking about. Maybe they are fatigued, or they can't lose weight, or they have these inflammatory health issues. You talk about 5 power types in the book. Can you describe in your book what these power types are?
Absolutely. So there are really 5 key power types, and I'll just run through them real quickly. So we have the gypsy girl. The gypsy girl is my artist, my creative. We have the boss lady. She's like commander, go-getter, leader. She's going to move teams and move mountains. Then we have the blend of those two, which I'm calling the savvy chick, which is essentially what I am, which is part dreamer. I'm off in space sometimes, but at the same time, I can get things done and get things moving. We have the earth mama, which is very nurturing. Their identity and their sense of self is all about other people, a community, a home, or a family. And then we have the nightingale, who really sees a higher purpose, a higher mission, and then sacrifices themselves in order to get to that mission. So those are the 5 women I feel like I meet day in and day out. Now, at any given point in our lives, we may be one of those women. I'm a savvy chick today. I might have been a gypsy girl in my teenage years. I might be somebody else when I'm in menopause. We'll see, but the point being, each of these types take elements of Ayurvedic medicine, they take elements of Chinese medicine, and then they each have hormone patterns and nutritional patterns that go with it. So the gypsy girl, for example, in Ayurveda would be a Vata. In Chinese medicine would have kidney meridian deficiency, would have adrenal fatigue from a hormonal standpoint. And then when we get to the dietary component, really needs to be gluten-free because they have a lot of adrenal thyroid imbalances. So, that's just a quick glimpse at a gypsy girl and kind of how I'm thinking about her. A boss lady, on the other hand, is a little bit of the opposite. She's got literally a lot of fire in her. She is going to build that team. She's going to get that degree. She's going to do whatever it takes to get things done. But all of that is internalized, like the Ayurvedic dosha pitta. They internalize that in their gut. And then from a Chinese medicine standpoint, They also deal with that from the liver meridian standpoint, and all that stress is held in the liver. And then we know today that liver meridian stress leads to thyroid dysfunction. It leads to other hormone imbalances. And then when you combine the liver and the gut component together, we know that we have a recipe for inflammation and a lot of autoimmunity. So the Savvy Chick is going to be a blend of those two. I wanted all my boss ladies to be dairy free, because we know how tough dairy is on a weak digestive system. So their diet plan that's in the book, and each of these types, by the way, each have their own plan. So the diet plan for the boss lady is dairy free. For the gypsy girl, it's gluten free. For the Savvy Chick, it's both. You have to be dairy and gluten free. So that's an example of that. The Earth Mamas, I always think of my husband, even though he's obviously a male, but he's just that archetype. He is the nurturer. He worries about everybody else. He doesn't set his boundaries for himself, so he gets into trouble, right? He has insulin resistance. He is at risk for cardiovascular or cardiometabolic disease, has a tendency to gain weight. These are things that we see in kaphas, that Ayurvedic dosha. They have spleen meridian deficiency, so they need diets very low in dairy, honestly low in animal meats, and also low in sugar. So their plan mirrors that particular pattern. Then my Nightingales, I don't want to say they've crashed, but they really have a lot of immune system issues, because again, they're driven by something else. It's a higher calling, it's a higher power. They're your missionaries. They're the people that are on planes constantly. And they are almost a blend of all these different types, but they need a lot of help with their immune system and with their gut. So in their plan, I included a lot of gut builders, a lot of immune support, things like bone broth, probiotics, B vitamins, vitamin D, those type of things to kind of nurture them. So those were the rough outline, very quick 2-second version outline of like all 5 of those types, and a little bit from each of the plans that go with them.
I love it. It's so brilliant, because so many people, and I know that you always see this with your patients too, is they're overwhelmed with what the heck I should even do.
Yes.
You have a book, a resource of like, why am I feeling the way that I do? And you boil it down to these amazing life-changing tools for people to really bring into their life. It's so helpful. I could see this book being transformational.
Well, that was my hope. And I was hoping people would hold it as a handbook and they would come back to it over and over again. Because I make the point in the book that we change. We're women, we change. So your hormones are here today, they're over there tomorrow. And you're going to change, because our roles change. We're mothers, we're wives, we're empty nesters, we're single, we're all over the map in terms of what we're doing too. And because of that, who we are is going to shift. So come back to the book, come back every 6 months or so and do the test. There are fun tests in there just to help you determine your type, and also to help you check back in with your body. I mean, I tried to have fun with this book, so I called it the Mojo Meter, but it was all about, we're so disconnected from our bodies, right? We're so unaware because we're doing and we're accomplishing and we're caring. And many people, and I was guilty of this too, we're just not aware of what's happening. So the Mojo Meter was a tool for people to come back in, check in with themselves, and have that alarm bell ring off, like, oh, wait, I'm not doing so well on this test. I need to go and get checked out or understand what's happening. So my hope and my prayer for the book was that women would use it. They would take it. They would have what I didn't have when I was going through my journey and I started to get sick, where someone could hand to me and say, hey, I've watched you. I understand you. I think this is who you are. This is at least a starting point for you. I'm not saying this is going to be the end point, but this is at least a starting point in your journey, so that as you go out and accomplish things, over the next 30, 40 years, you have the tools. Who builds a house without a foundation? I mean, you have the tools it takes, to be successful. And I go back to, I feel like I have more on my plate today than I have at any other point in my life, but I don't feel it. I don't feel any of that. I feel amazing. I wake up most of the time feeling pretty good, but the advantage of knowledge is when I don't, I know to check out and I know to disappear and do my self-care stuff. So that's just what I want for everybody out there. So
the adaptation to your resilience, I guess, is where it should be. And I think a lot of times people think, I am just getting older, or I'm just busy, so therefore they settle for feeling lousy. And it's ubiquitous. Yes. Just because something's common doesn't make it normal. And people settle for feeling lousy, and the book can really bring light to the fact that they don't have to settle for feeling so miserable.
I agree. And the other thing, I'm sure you see this in your practice, and I see it in mine. And again, I think that was the motivation, is that transformation that happens when you equip people with their tools. and I feel like that's sort of my next calling. And I don't know that I know how to get there quite yet, but I'm working on it. But it's those conversations where Dr. Taz, it's like they walk in the room, they're looking down, right? They're looking at their feet, they're looking over here, they're looking over there. They can't make eye contact with me. There's zero light in their face or their eyes. And you work with them and you teach them and you educate them and you take them through this whole program. And it's different for everybody, but 3 to 6 months later, it's like, oh my gosh, they're like bright, they're shining, they're excited, all this other good stuff. And then it's the conversations shift. They're like, Dr. Taz, I think I'm ready to start that business. I think I'm ready to get that divorce. I think I'm ready to get married. I think I'm okay. I think I'm ready to have a baby, whatever it is. But they're life-changing decisions that because their chemistry has shifted, they are now prepared to take on.
The people, once they find out what power type they are, then they can follow their unique plan. And since we're all different, it kind of is a unique personal experience, right?
Yes. I mean, and I wanted that. I didn't want, of course, the publisher too was like, what are you doing? You've got 5 types, 5 plans. This is a lot for people. What are you trying to do? And I'm like, I know, but they truly are unique enough that they each need to stand on their own. And I wanted people to feel like they had something personalized to them, not just another like, eat more protein, eat less, sugar, that type of plan. I really wanted something deeper and something more.
Great. So on a personal level, and people want to know this, this is going in the wellness world, if you had to, and it's probably hard, but if you had to pick one food and one supplement in your wellness game, what would it be?
One food and one supplement that everybody should be on. One food. One food is tough.
Life. Maybe not everybody else, but.
One food. Okay. One food that everyone should be on. I would go with my greens. I think whether it's kale or Swiss chard or spinach, whatever it is, the greens are pretty powerful. You can't ask for more nutrients per serving than you get in greens, and any way you want them, whether it's in a smoothie or whether it's stir frying them lightly or, eating them raw, whatever it is. So I think the greens, if you left me on a deserted island and I couldn't eat anything else, I think I would do okay on the greens and be fine. So I think that would be my one food. I know my one supplement, that's B vitamins. I cannot stress more often than not the importance of B vitamins in women's health. And plays a role in men's health too. But the more we learn, as I'm sure you know, about methylation and detoxification and all these big fancy words that we use, when it comes to estrogen and progesterone and thyroid and all these other things that we as women deal with, we need the right B vitamins to metabolize them correctly, to help break them down and get rid of them. And that in turn impacts everything from our mood to our memory to our energy levels, to what our hormone balance looks like. So that's what I would pick as the one supplement, a good quality methylated B multivitamin that women would use to help them with all aspects of their health.
Very good. I love it. I would agree with both of those things. I live by both of those things. Sure.
Good.
So if you had to, maybe just kind of fill people in. Besides the book, what is the latest that's going on in your life? And then how can people kind of get connected with you and what you have going on?
Oh, sure. Oh, goodness. Okay. So the latest going on with me, this book obviously was a labor of love. It was hard to write. It was hard to get the stuff out of my head, and it finally happened. And ironically, it happened and got released at the same time as the whole Me Too movement. So whatever you think about that is a separate conversation. But here's what came of that. I did my first TED Talk ever a couple weeks ago in New York City, and it was all on the power of women and personal power and the power of mitochondrial DNA, and really challenging women with the responsibility that we're actually carrying, within us to make the right choices because we hand it down to the next generation. And so I'm really fascinated by the whole intersection of our thoughts, our emotions, our chemistry, how it's recorded in our DNA, and how we in turn hand that down, and it stays within a family for up to 7 generations. And I think all of that came about because it was really bothersome what's happened, I think, over the last couple of years with women. And anyways, I was the type to get really irritated when girls stayed with the wrong guy or chose the wrong thing or did whatever they did. And so, especially with the last few years of choices women seem to be making, it was always like, why? We can do everything. We started this with like, women can do everything. So why would you choose something less than what you deserve? And it was the realization that we're a little pre-wired for it. So it makes our work so much more important because you have to get the chemistry right to elevate thought, to elevate intuition, and then you have to train that over and over again. It's almost like an exercise that we as women need to learn. So first we have to elevate with the right tools, and then we have to do the training just like you would do a workout or a regimen program. So a lot of my brain space and a lot of my speaking space is, where do I go with that? I really feel like I want to play a role in helping women understand how critical and how important this is, because we change the world by changing our future generations, and this is a responsibility we have. So that TED Talk was completed, and we'll share that, probably once TED releases all their videos and does all that stuff. So that was in the immediate. And then after that, we're just working on a lot of different programs and initiatives. We have a course coming up on the Superwoman that we'll share information with too, that people might like to do and dig in deeply into themselves. And we're doing a lot with the practices and scaling and growing the practices and taking it to other cities as well. So just a lot going on, but all exciting stuff. And I'm excited about all of it.
That's awesome. And everything's at drtaz.com. You can put all the hyperlinks below in the comment section below for everybody that's watching.
Absolutely. Dr. Taz, DOCTOR, Taz.com, or I'm on Instagram and Facebook too at Dr. Taz MD.
Awesome. Dr. Taz, thank you so much for talking with me and sharing your passion and your love to get people well. And your book's amazing.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to yours.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And we'll see each other in June.
Yes. Take care.